Today we're making Dollar Tree Halloween. Keep watching. I'm Brandy and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome back. Every light in the house is on. Haunted house. Alright, we're going to use some Quick and Thick and hot glue, elephant and ink chalk paints, a variety of paint brushes, possibly a sponge, whatever you want to use here, some flameless candles, little tea lights will work, spackle and tape. This is from Dollar Tree. It's a little sign. And this is from Dollar Tree. Large house. Alright, so I am going to put a piece of tape over the hole in the top. Flip it over, and I'll use a little bit of lightweight spackling to fill the hole in. I know a lot of y'all are familiar with this technique and how I do this. Very easy to do, but we've got new subscribers now, so we want to show them all the good tips too. And now we have a nice even surface so we can paint the front. Make sure that that is dry before you apply your paint, and then I'll put black chalk paint on here. This is going to be a base rather than a sign. We're going to use it as a hack for something else. So I'll paint the whole thing black. You don't have to paint the bottom of it. If you want to, you can, but nobody's going to see the bottom. And then we'll paint the entire house this color as well. Now this is like a mirrored thing. It's exactly the same on both sides. So I just chose one side to be the back and one to be the front. If you want to go ahead and paint the back of yours black, you can do that at this point too and let it dry. Okay, so I am going to put this on the bottom, and this is going to be what will hold up our sign and make the base. I'll measure it, and it's just a tad over 4 inches from each end to make it center. And then when I find that center spot, I'll add a little bit of my glue and a little bit of hot glue in between. And for you new folks, 2 different glues because one is going to hold it in place quickly until the long-term adhesive sets up. Just makes it a quicker way to get your projects done. So clean your little edges up, let that dry, and then go ahead and you can paint the rest of it at this point if you would like. I've got some popsicle sticks, tongue depressors, craft sticks, whatever you want to call them, and little wood chips. I've decided I'm going to use the popsicle sticks in 2 different sizes, and these are just my miter shears. I'm going to use these to cut these off. And what I'm doing, instead of cutting all the way through, is kind of biting down on it and then breaking it off, and it leaves a splintered edge. And I like the little splintered edge because we're going to make shutters for the windows, and I want them to look like they are old, old. You can also do this to board your windows up if you want to board them up. Make them look like it's an abandoned old house. Totally up to you. Ours is not abandoned though. It's full of spirits, right? Now this is easy to do. For the larger windows, I'm going to use the bigger sticks, and you can see the smaller size is what I'll use for the smaller windows. Because the bigger sticks are going to kind of overhang the sides, a little side area, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm just roughly measuring how large I want my shutters to be, and I'll make enough so that every window has 2. You can also do this for your door if you want to, but I'm not going to do it for the door. Leave the door open because I've got something else in mind for that. Now I'm just placing them here and there to see how I might want them to look. Of course, they should be in disrepair. It's an old house, right? So I'm going to have them kind of sideways, look like they're maybe hanging off, partially covering the window, just looking all crazy. Alright, and I'm going to add some of my Type Bond here. You could also use hot glue if you want. I'm just going to kind of sandwich that in there to flatten it out. And then I'll just place them down however I like them. If you get a little squish of glue on the outside, you can get a Q-tip or a craft stick or something to clean it up. If you're enjoying the video so far, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I make all kinds of fun things, and I have been told I have quite unique taste. So if that is something you're interested in checking out, then you go right ahead and subscribe. We'd love to have you here. So I'm going to do this to each one. I'm not trying to get identical look out of each window. No, I'm going to make it a little bit different for each one of them. Perfect. And then when they are like I like them, I will let those dry. I've got some of this little fencing that you can get at any craft store where they sell miniatures. And I am going to make a little fence around the bottom because this is going to be like the side yard in the house. It's a white picket. I would have loved having some of that metal ribbon, but I'm completely out. So we're going to use this, and I'm just going to paint it black. You can also slide the pickets out, so if you wanted it to look like there's a hole in the fence or broken boards, you could also do that. I've also seen like a stained colors, like a wood color. We're just going to make ours black. I'm alternating my glue. Also not necessary, that's just how I wanted to do it. And then you can clean that up as well with craft stick, an old paint brush, a Q-tip, whatever you would like. Quick and Thick does dry clear, so it really wouldn't be a problem though if you left it. Alright, now after it is dried and all the shutters are dry, I'm just using a sponge brush. You could use a regular paintbrush if you would like to. You could make these in a different color than the black. It could be, you could do gray shutters, you could do blue, you could do red, orange, purple, whatever you want to do for your house. I'll let the paint dry and then flip it over, and I'm using some of this burlap ribbon, and that will be in each of my windows. I thought about using some of that spider web cloth, but it's really hard to glue that down. So I just thought, you know what, this looks creepy. It looks like that little piece I just put down looks like it's torn. It's just the stitching is wrong on it, so it just looks like, you know, mesh or something. That's what I'm going for. That's what I wanted to do. I want it to be something dark, but I also want it to be something that you can see through to some extent, because we're going to have lights in here and I want to see that. Now I'll go around each of the windows with some hot glue, and then protect your fingers, of course, and then you can just put it in place. And make sure that it is nice and flat. And if any of it overhangs the edge of the house, you can just trim that off. If you have a piece of fabric that you want to use as a backing here, you wouldn't have to cut all these pieces necessarily. You could just measure your fabric, cut it, put it on the back. This is very easy to do, not a problem at all. Any of us can do this, right? Yes. So we're going to do all of them. And then this is the door, so there's nothing in front of the door. There's no shutters or anything on the other side. I'm going to glue the bottom part down as well. You can trim that off so it's not overhanging, but I have something in mind. For that little door, we're going to have a little figure standing there on the other side. Okay? Yes. See, I like this. I like it. Almost kind of looks like a screen. Now I'm going to prop it up. And I'm going to do a little bit of a light brush. And I mean, I'm using the slightest touch with this brush to show the edges. And this is the elephant gray that I'm using right now. If you don't want to use chalk paints, use your acrylics. That is totally fine to do. I have chalk paint, find it easy to work with as a crafter. When I need to get material out on a schedule, it dries quickly, it gives a good coverage, and so that's why I keep using chalk paint. It just works for me. I'm going to continue along. You can see this is easy to do. I'm just kind of bumping the edge and then dragging slightly over the top. Bump the edge, slightly over the top. And then the top of it and the bottom of it, you can give a little brush that too. And that just makes it stand out. You see the difference between the bottom and the top now? Gives a little more dimension. So there are my shutters. I'm happy with that. Now, I decided to use a little scrap of wood here and it was actually the handle off of a foam paintbrush. I saved these things. I'm going to glue these together and make like a little tool. I'm going to use this to help me put a pattern on the shutters to give them a little bit more of a pattern. Maybe, you know how shutters have those slats that go across? I was thinking if I had something with ridges in it, and I did search my stamps, but I don't have a stamp that would work. So I thought, let me just make something. You know, a lot of that with crafting is just experimental. It's just experimental, right? So what does it hurt to try? It's just paint. If I don't like it, I could go fix it. So I'm just using that gray paint again, and I am just going to use it to kind of stamp down very lightly in little sections on these shutters. It's not a lot, it's a little bit, it's enough to make it look like it's consistent through all of the shutters. You see, it gives a little bit of a stripe texture. You could also use a pencil though and draw your lines on, totally up to you. I've also turned it sideways. I'm using the side of it to give some lines. And I like that much better. So now we have the aging done on there, or the lines and the stripes and the shading done on it. And for me, I like it, but it's totally up to you how you want to do this. So now we're going to address the yard here. The back's not so much a big deal because, you know, you're not going to see the back of it. I'm going to add some glue, and the reason I'm holding the glue gun like this is because I'm smearing that paint to make it kind of flat. I've got some moss that I'm not protecting my fingertips. Y'all put your finger protectors on, please, please. I care about y'all, that's why I'm telling you. Please protect your little pinkies. And then just push that moss down into it. You can use any color moss you want. You don't have to use moss. You can just leave it black on the bottom. You could use some type of a fake grass here. You could use, I don't know, let your imagination just run wild. I always encourage you on this channel to make it your own. So if you've got an idea that sparks in you to do it, then you do it your way. Just gonna give you some inspiration, okay? And I like that. I like it. Looks like old grass and kind of brambly. I like that. Brambly? There's another word I can add to my dictionary of imaginary words. Now we're going to put our candles on. I'm leaving them white. If I paint these candles black, you won't be able to see it glow all the way through. And I like the idea of it being a glow all the way through the candle. So I'm going to make sure that each of my on and off switches are toward me. And then I'll call the other part the back of the candle, and that's where I'm going to put my nano tape. Nano tape, alien tape, it's a double stick gel mounting tape, y'all. You can get it at Walmart, you can get it at Dollar Tree occasionally. I get mine from Temu. It is very inexpensive, and it is some strong, versatile stuff. If I used hot glue here, it might melt the candle, the outside of that candle. I might not be able to use it again, but we want to save money where we can, right? And look, it just floats up there. Didn't even have to glue on a shelf or anything. I'll do that to each one. You just peel the back off, stick it on the candle, peel the other part off, and stick it to your surface. And I'm holding it where I can push through that ribbon and through the board to make sure that it has got a tight bond onto this. Now I'm going to use this little ghost cutout. It's a little too cartoony for me to use with the smiley face forward, so I'm going to turn it backwards. It's white, so you should be able to see it fairly well. I'll glue it in place, and then when the lights are on, you'll see just a hint of that silhouette in the door. Ooh. Okay. Now, we're going to put some spooky trees in the yard because why not? If you want to use the little trees that come from Dollar Tree, the bottle brush trees, you can use those here. I did not have any of those. I have one extra large, but it's way out of scale, so I decided to make my own. I am using 2 little pieces of black greenery, one with the stem a little longer, one with it shorter, and I'm going to hot glue these together to make a little crease to go on either side of the house in those little side yard pieces. I'm going to do each one the same way, kind of backwards though. I want the tallest part to be against the tree, and it's going to kind of taper off toward the end of the fence. Because we put these two together, it makes a thicker bottom, so that instead of using floral foam, I can just add hot glue and push it into that moss and it will stay there. Now you do have to hold it a minute. I do cut out all the time that I'm holding things in place because, you know, nobody wants to see me do that for 2 minutes. But when the glue has a chance to sit up, then I will kind of, you know, move on to the next. Now this is a little piece that is, of course, out of focus. It's just a little piece of branch I got in a bag from Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to use it as a stump. I'll add a little more moss, trim it off, put some on the bottom, some glue on the bottom, and then I'm going to put it on the side here to raise my little pumpkin up. I've got the pumpkin and I'm going to glue him right on top of the moss. And then on the other side, you can put whatever you want. If you want to add another pumpkin or a skeleton or something there, you can, but I didn't want this to be identical on both sides. Alright, so now I'm going to go back in and dry brush across the roof and all of the sides, and just a little bit will be dragged or drug across the middle. Just a little, just to make it look a little bit more. You know how it is when you're doing a project, and for me, I like to do a little at a time. Then I look at the grand scheme of things, and then I add on. And you can see I did the fence down there too. Gonna do some dry brushing on that. You could put a little mailbox there if you had it, and you know, I just thought about that, and I do have one that I could have painted. Goodness gracious alive. Alright, I'm turning on all of my switches here so you can see what it's going to look like. And we're not done with it though. There's some other things I'm going to add. Look! That's why I said every light in the house is on. By the way, that's a country song. I'm sure y'all have heard it. This came off of another piece from Dollar Tree that I bought last year, and I thought this is perfect for this house. It's got just a tad of glitter on it, not a lot, but just on the wording. I'm going to find the position I like, and then I'll grab my glue, and I actually put a little bit too much glue here, a little too high up, but I'll clean it up, and then a little on the bottom to secure it in place. What's a haunted house without an enter if you dare sign? With the little ghost down there in the bottom to intimidate. I'm picking my hot glue off. Now I've just turned off the lights, and this is off of another one that I got from Dollar Tree as well. I've had it a couple of years. When I take those 3-piece signs apart, I like to save pieces. So I'm going to add the moon with the bats over to the side, kind of slanted. I'm just using that little jar to help prop it up, in case y'all were wondering. I'm trying to get the right angle here. Then I'm getting my big head all in there. I was supposed to edit that out, so I'm sorry about that. Press it in place and just kind of hold it. See where you need your little points to hold it in place. I don't want it to be in front of any of the windows though. We don't want to block the windows. You can just make a moon yourself if you want to. And I like this. I'm going to add a bat up here because there's a little flaw where I tried to erase an accident. But I'll add a little glitter bat, and these are just the stickers you can get from Dollar Tree as well, and so is this one. I've had these for a few years. I'm just going to add the little witch up there. Now if you wanted to put pictures in each of those windows, you could. If you printed it on tissue or it had a white background, you would be able to see the candles through it. I like it just like it is. And we got this little skeleton friend. He's checking it out. He's considering, do I go in or do I not? And this is how it's going to look displayed. And I hope y'all like this. A lot of good feedback came from the witch, light up witch that we did. So I thought that you would enjoy these as well. Some more ideas of how to use them. Whatever brought you here today, I am so thankful that you're here. Maybe I was in suggestions, maybe I popped up in a playlist somewhere, or somebody shared the video. I appreciate it, and I would love it if you would share that love by sending this video to somebody who you think would enjoy it. Don't you just love the imagination with Halloween? And really all the holidays. You can just be so imaginative and just let your inner child just run wild. Let that inner child, him or her, just have the joy and glee that comes along with trick-or-treating and the lights. I hope you like this one. Now we're going to do pick of the patch. It's a pumpkin. I've got some Mod Podge and a brush. I'm also going to use a little utility knife. And then there's a variety of fabrics you can use. Dollar Tree has some cute stuff. I've got scraps that I always get when I am thrifting. Just giving you some ideas. You can use a handkerchief. Some more Dollar Tree fabric. But this is the wood cutout we're going to be using. I've used this before on a sign and I loved it. So of course I had to get another one. I decided to use this again. I've used this quite a few times in my Halloween decor that I've been making this year. And I decided to use it again. I like this color orange, and yeah, so I'm using it again. I'm repeating myself. Y'all clearly need more coffee. Okay, so I've just torn it so I've got it the right size. You can cut yours out. I'm going to take my Mod Podge and just start applying that all over this pumpkin. These little signs are very thin, and you can see that it's kind of warped. It's kind of lifting off the table. That is not a problem, and it is actually going to work in my favor. I don't know if this is something that only happens. Well, I'll show you in just a minute. You want to get a nice even coat. You want to go thicker with Mod Podge and fabric than you do when you use paper and Mod Podge, because you want it to go through the fibers of that material in that fabric. Okay, so now I'm placing it down on top of the pumpkin, and I'm just going to use my hands to rub this and to pull the wrinkles out and press it down all over my little jack-o'-lantern. Nice and flat. You can use a brayer, you can use any type of tool that you would like to help you, to assist you in getting this nice and flat. Then I'm going to take more Mod Podge, and you can see I use quite a bit of it here. It's not sopping wet, but it's enough to go through the fabric, and that's what you want it to do. Be sure you go over all your edges, around all the eyes and the outside too, so that it changes the texture into a firmer texture. Alright, now I use my heat tool to dry this. You see how it's bowed? It looks like a Pringle chip, doesn't it? I don't mind that at all. I don't know if it's because I use the heat or if it's just a Mod Podge thing. If I would have let it dry by itself, would it have bowed even more so like this? I don't know, but while it is still warm for my heat gun, I decided, you know what, we're going to go with it. I've learned through my crafting that if something is trying to happen, just let it happen. Maybe it's divine intervention. Who knows? I'm going to take a little bit of my wire, and I'm going to put clamps on the side and just lightly put tension on that wire to help hold that bow, because when you hang it up, then it'll have a little more dimension instead of being flat on the wall. So I thought, you know what, I like that. It's a little different. It's not a major thing, but it's a little different. And if yours doesn't do this, or you don't want it to, just leave it flat. Nice. I'll wait, I'll walk away, have a coffee break, sit on the porch, listen to the birds, and then I'll come back in, remove the clamps and the wire, and then cut off most of the excess. You don't have to be too concerned with getting really, really close to the pumpkin at this point. You just want to get the rest of that fabric out of your way, because we are going to be using a sander to clean off the rest of the edges. Now, this is the reason you put the Mod Podge over the edge, because it changes the texture and it makes that fabric almost a paper. And when you file it with a sander or a sanding paper or an emery board or whatever, it helps to just shear it off nice and evenly. And it keeps It keeps your fabric from fraying a lot. There'll still be a couple of little spots, but you can clean that up with a blade too. So this is just a utility knife that I have, and I'm going to go right along the inside on the back to cut out each of the facial features. And then go into the corners. And I have this sitting on top of a piece of folded cardboard. I have a cutting mat, but not everybody does. So I'm showing you here that if you want to use your utility knife or your craft knife or your X-Acto knife, whichever one, you can do that on some doubled up cardboard. Just don't want to damage your table, right? So here we are. Now I want to put black behind each of the eyes. This is some wrinkled looking crinkled paper that I got from Temu a while back that I've used in other Halloween crafts. And I thought this would definitely give a little more texture and a little something extra to make it pop. So I've cut out sections of it, and I really don't want to waste this paper. I don't have much left, so I'm trying to be careful about how much I use. And I'm just going to cut it in pieces just close enough to the right size where I don't have any light shining through for the nose, the mouth, and the eyes. And pull off my little stray pieces. I'm picking his teeth, y'all. Picking his teeth. And then I decided I'm going to put this on the stem too. And this is just a little scrap piece of it. I'm going to use my white pen to draw around so I can see it. Cut it out, and then I'll glue it in place with just a little hot glue. No big deal. Don't have to use anything special here. And then I'm going to use a black marker and go around the inside of the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the outside of the pumpkin. You can, as you see, I bumped it right there and made a little bit of a mess, but I'm not worried about that. I'm not. We can't do everything perfectly, can we? We're not machines. So this popsicle stick is going to be the perfect size for me to put a little swag on the top. This is the smaller of the popsicle sticks that you saw me use in the earlier project. So it's about maybe a 6-inch popsicle stick, maybe 5 inches, something like that. Just the standard size you can get at Dollar Tree. These are 2 leaves that I have in my bucket of fall floral scraps. Love the colors. So we're going to use the colors here. I wanted to bring a little yellow into this so that it could be fall and Halloween. I'm going to cut each one of these at the same length, so 5 or 6 inches. I'll do 2 in this stripe, which also kind of mimics the floral there, or the leaves. And then I'll use 2 of the thinner black, and these are wired. This is just like a burlap you can get pretty much anywhere. And then I've got some polka dot ribbon that came with some sunflower stuff, and I thought let's add this because it's that kind of a golden yellow mustardy kind of color, and I think that it would look good and give it a little more playfulness and variety. Now what I'm doing is folding this over, and again for our new crafters, this is called dovetail, cut from the inside toward the wire at a slant, and that's going to give you a beautiful little split in the end. Same here, and we'll do that to every one. Now I'm just going to make like an X. You can use whichever ones you want first, but I do recommend you put the smallest ones in the front because they'll get lost in the bow if you don't. I'll grab a piece of jute, place it in the middle, flip it over, and then I'll just cinch it up slowly and tie it, and then I will tie it into a double knot. I'm going to leave my string on there because we're going to use that to help attach it. You can add a little hot glue on here also to keep things from moving around. Nice and tight. Now turn it over and fluff your bow. Of course, we have to fluff the bow, so that's just pulling it out, flexing the wire just a little bit so that it is not flat. And then I am going to tie it right around the middle where the leaves join. You can put as many leaves as you want. You can put some flowers in there. You could put mums in there, whatever you want to put. But this was fine for me. This was plenty for me. This is going to be double knotted, and then I'm going to add a little glue just to make sure nothing moves. A little extra, extra. I'm forever fluffing. Y'all know how I do. And then I'm going to put it up here on the top. Make sure it's positioned where I like it. I'll tie that on. And then you can add a little glue if you want to hold it in place too. To make a hanger, you can use the original hole in the top if you would like. I like the look of one of these type of hangers, so I'm just going to use an extra piece of jute. It's just scraps. I always keep my scraps. And then I'll add some hot glue and just a scrap of ribbon over the top to hold everything in place. You could paint the entire back of that black at this point if you wanted to, or you could cover it in some felt or some craft paper. And that is now ready to be hung. I love the different textures and colors. This is just a really playful and fun piece, I think, that you could use fall through Halloween. This could also be an option to light up. If you wanted to do a lit piece, you could do it similar to the way we did the house and use a sheer ribbon behind it and then put some twinkle lights or fairy lights in there if you would like. Thank you to my channel members. Y'all, your support means so much to me. We're all batty here is the next one. We're going to use some burlap ribbon, some zip ties. Going to use this Halloween sign that says Happy Halloween. 2 of these wreath rings. These are the medium size. Alright, so we're going to put these where they are back to back. This gives you a little more of a round piece instead of having it flat on the back. It is your option. If you like it flat on the back, you can certainly have it that way and save yourself $1.25. But if you have the materials and you want to try something different, this is the way you can do it. I'd also like to add at this point, if you wanted to add something, maybe you wanted to add some string lights, this would be the perfect way to do it, to kind of hide your light boxes in there if you have like the little remotes that go on them. So then you wouldn't have to get back in there and turn them on and off. I'm using zip ties in 4 different places here to hold this together. I am not using lights in mine. I want this to be a wreath that is easy to recreate in case there are any newcomers here or anybody who wants to do something kind of quickly to get something up on their door. This is a scrap that I have left over from a roll that I got from burlapfabric.com. But you can get your burlap wherever you want, and you can definitely get 5 or 6 inch pieces, rolls of burlap at Walmart. I have done that before, the colored kind, the orange and black and red. Now I'm going to wrap this where I have just enough to sort of overhang. I don't want to waste any of this, and if you wrap it, you're just going to waste it if you wrap it too close together. Do you see what I'm saying when I'm telling you that? And I would have been in trouble if I did that because I had just enough to do this piece. I'll add hot glue. So this side has now become designated as the back because this is where the ribbon stops, and you don't want that on the front of your wreath. You can trim off, and I did trim off the little piece that was kind of hanging over toward the front. Trim that off. And this is going to be the front. Very simple. If you don't want to use burlap for yours, you can use any type of ribbon that you want to use to wrap it. I'll use King's Gold, orange, and parchment white, and black ink chalk paint. I'm just going to go in with my pencil on this Halloween sign and draw out where my lines would be. For me, it's easier when I know I'm going to paint these in different colors to know where my letters and pieces start and end. Otherwise, I have to go back in and correct a bunch of stuff that I don't want to have to waste the time on. You know what I'm saying here? Do you know what I'm saying? So, we're officially in fall, y'all. Officially in fall. And if you have not already heard that I have a second channel called Forever Fall Home, I would love it if you could go over there and check it out. I am going to show you how you can have a fall feeling, a comfy fall feeling in your home all year long, regardless of the season, holiday, etc., etc. If you're into that, I would love to see your smiling little face right over there in my comment section. All right, once I've got this where I like it, I'm going to grab a variety of brushes that I'm comfortable with because I'm going to have to be careful about how I paint. I don't want a bunch of paint gooping down in the holes of his eye and his mouth, so I'm being careful here by how I smear my paint around. If you want to use chalk paints on this, you can also do that. You can use matte, you can use gloss. It doesn't matter. And if you have matte but you prefer like a glossy finish, then you can get Mod Podge gloss and put over the top of it after you're done painting, and then the entire thing will be glossy till your little heart is happy. I like to move my piece around so I can get exactly where I need to be to paint, whatever direction I'm comfortable in. And you can do that. It's not taped down, it's not glued down. Move it around to make it easier. If you wait between each layer of paint is dried, you're better off because then you're not putting your wrist in it and smearing anything around. So I decided I like the idea of sort of mimicking candy corn on this one because the ribbon kind of looked like candy corn that we used recently. And I'm going to use those colors or close to those colors, and I'm going to do like every other one in the King's Gold, and every other letter will be that parchment white. And then we'll make the bats black. I recently got a haircut, and the rest of my dye is gone, y'all. The rest is gone. I am all natural now. Yes, I am. My hair's kind of short, but I'm all natural. I'm very happy about it. Now on these pieces, if you would, because black can be so hard to clean up, if you want to use a paint marker, you can go in there with a paint marker and trace all of this out and then fill it in with your paint. Totally up to you. If you wanted to add some glitter on here, you could add some glitter paint or some color shift paint, anything you like. This is how it's going to look when it is finished. I'm going to be sure to let this dry completely, of course. Then you can put it on top of your wreath and decide where you want it to be. And this is such a lightweight piece that I'm just going to use glue to put it down. You could certainly tie it back on. You could use some floral wire to attach it down, but this would be something that I keep in the house. I do recommend floral wire if you're going to put this outside so that nothing falls apart or melts in this friggin' heat. My temperature on the computer yesterday, normally down in the bottom corner it will say 92 degrees and have a little sun or whatever down in the corner. It just said very hot with a red sun and a thermometer next to it. That's life in the South, though. That's life in the South. All right, so it's glued down, and we're going to work on a bow. I'm going to grab that same ribbon, and by the way, if y'all didn't see, I don't know if I showed y'all where I got the ribbon from. I got it from Hobby Lobby on clearance, maybe last year, maybe the year before. Kind of hang on to stuff because you never know. Then I'm going to make just the tail and then 4 loops. However you want to make a bow, and whatever kind of bow you like, you can make here. I do have a video on bows, and I do have a bow maker that I made myself, and I have a video on that as well. So if you want that information, just let me know in the comments and I'll fix you up with a link so you can choose the bow that's right for you. Now I'm going to use a zip tie here to put around my bow, making sure that once I have the zip tie in place, I spin that around to the back of the bow so it's not showing. You'll see me do that. There. I just twisted it to the back and cinched it down. And I'm just going to cut it off with my scissors, which is probably why my scissors need to be sharpened again. And then you can fluff the bow however you like it. My tails are a little on the short side because I want to have those kind of extending off the sides of the wreath rather than hanging down. I'm going to go ahead and glue it in place. But I'm also going to use wire to show you how you can use wire if you want to put it outside. Just a little piece of floral wire. Mine's about 8 inches long, but it will be trimmed down. It's a scrap that I had. Fold it over the top like a bobby pin, a hairpin, a horseshoe. Poke it through, make sure that it is clinging to the form of the wreath. Push that all the way down, pull it tight, and then you can twist that into place and cut off your excess. And then push the excess down into that mesh so that you don't have, or into that burlap so that you don't cut yourself or scratch your door. Instead of dovetailing this, I'm going to cut it at a slant. And then right at the edge of each of those bat wings, I'm going to glue those in place. Does anybody else fidget with a bow as much as I do? Is it just me? Is it just me, y'all? I know some people don't like bows and they don't use them, and that's fine. But for those who do enjoy bows, do you fidget as much as I do? Now, I wish I would have had the right color orange for my pumpkin down there to really match that beautiful rust color, but I didn't. But that's okay. I still like it. These are the little bats that you hang on the wall. You can get these just about anywhere. You might even could get them from Dollar Tree. I don't want it to sink all the way down, so I'm going to use a little square bead as a riser. Perfect. To go right in the middle of that bow because we have more bats on here. And I thought, you know what? Let's just do that. I thought I had some more of those little glittery wood bats, but I don't. Those would have been cute as well. Now I'm going to add one more bat on the bottom. Just going to extend that right over here to the side of the wreath with a little hot glue. And this is how this wreath turned out. I want to remind y'all today that you're important, special, and gifted. We are all created with purpose on this earth, and I want you to find some joy in your life. I want you, whether that's doing things that are silly and fun like Halloween, or that are a little more serious like sitting outside and meditating and praying and just having a grateful heart. As always, I thank you for stopping by today and spending a little bit of time with me. Check out this rectangle for more, and I'll see you soon. Bye.